who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color.
That's fine, right? Just happens naturally. The people you hire, oh, they just all happen to be people of color. It's not like she's deliberately going, if your skin's this color, you're not getting hired. It's not like she's doing that.
We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment.
Oh. What if the white man decides to close the internet and everything we kept on it is gone? You can't go around blaming the white man for everything. Are you one of those white people aren't that bad types? Haha, what? No, I mean, not really. A lot of them come here and are pretty cool, but I'm always wary, you know? You've probably seen a lot of people saying, oh, Sweet Baby isn't infiltrating anything. They are just consultants. They're hired to give advice. People can accept the advice or not. That's one element of something. That sort of interaction does occur. However, as we've heard from the CEO, a major goal of Sweet Baby is to create cross-company networks across the whole industry. Link the Sweet Babies, as they call them. The CEO explained they're called Sweet Baby because they call the people they have a good time working with Sweet Babies, and they want them connected so they'll be able to advocate for who knows what, perhaps to do with that terrifying of marketing departments she discussed. Who knows? They want networks, and they want to get diverse people into the industry. Now, is that really the only qualification? They'll get anyone. Look, if you're a minority demographic within game development, they'll try to get you into the industry. Is that all they're doing? Is that it? Or is it more specific? Is it possible there's a more specific kind of person? We have, 4 data points so far? Everyone here has at least 4 data points. We've got Kim, the CEO. We've got David, the COO. They haven't done anything too overtly nasty, but they've said some weird self-absorbed things. They've said some ideological things that I'm not a fan of. Then we have 2 other employees. We have Felix and we have Chris, who have done nasty things. Those are the guys who were trying to get the Brazilian guy banned from Steam, tried to get his curator page taken down. So that's 4 people, the 2 people at the top and 2 of the 16. Are these the only bad apples? And everything else is great? Maybe they only got a couple bad apples now. I mean, they've been around since 2018. I think it would be interesting if we looked at one of their successes. One of Sweet Baby's explicit goals is to get new people into the industry. They work as a sort of free talent agency, is my understanding. And one of the people who they seem to have done good work for is someone called Dani Lalonders. I don't know if I'm saying her name correctly. I'm not trying to say it wrong on purpose or whatever. I don't know how it is. Dani Lalonders is currently, if her LinkedIn is to be believed and her Twitter is to be believed, she is with Cliffhanger Games, which is an EA studio working on a Black Panther game. Very impressive. She was also previously a narrative designer at Sweet Baby from October 22 to May 23. She was just there for a few months, and it seems like they successfully inserted her into the industry, right? Their goal, get diverse people into the industry. She went into Sweet Baby, and then she ended up with EA. That feels like a success, right? Something I think is quite interesting is, before joining Sweet Baby as a part-time remote narrative designer, she put out her own game. So she joined Sweet Baby October 2022. Why would they want her? What did she have on her CV at that point? Well, she had on her CV at that point a game that was released 29th September 2022. So in the month before she joined Sweet Baby is her game Validate, and we'll look at this game later. So this game is going to be part of why Sweet Baby was interested in her, I guess. And luckily for us, we can get some insight into exactly what the kind of Sweet Baby, I guess they call their people Sweet Babies. What exactly is the kind of person Sweet Baby is trying to get into the industry? She's clearly one of them. She went through the Sweet Baby pipeline, got into an EA studio. We have a nice talk with her, discussing entering the industry with her game, Validate. We can learn about this person who she gave this talk in 2021. Her game came out 2022. And then the month after her game was out, Sweet Baby picked her up. This is who Sweet Baby want to get into the industry. They picked her with all of this information about her out there. This is from the Game Devs of Color Expo, by the way. Game Devs of Color Expo 2021. Let's go.
Developing a video game isn't easy. Now, it sounds like common sense, but there are a lot of keyboard warriors who would lead you to believe otherwise.
Depends on the game, to be honest. Depends on the game.
Dani Lalonders is a producer and narrative designer. Dani is currently the head producer for Validate, struggling singles in your area, and a writer on Spirit Swap, lo-fi beats to match 3-2.
Really? I have seen Spirit Swap.
From a young age, Dani has always gravitated to video games, but the severe lack of black playable female characters is what influenced her to start video game development.
Isn't that insane? I don't think... Well, for one, the sort of games I gravitated towards weren't really games where I'd have to play as a white person anyway. But if I was forced to not play as a white person, I don't think that would be a motivator for me to get into game development. At all. It's all these people with the desire to be seen. Yeah, that is what it is, isn't it? It's people who view it as a stage, and they're like, white people are on the stage. I need to be up there. But that mindset alone is just cancer. It's poison.
It's time to see what 1 year in the industry looked like for Dani.
I should request a key for her game sensor? Oh no, I support black women in gaming. That's why this morning I purchased her game, and we're going to play it after we watch her talk.
1 year in the industry. I really cannot believe it's been 1 year. It's like just yesterday when I launched my first game and just got the attention of everyone. My name is Dani Lalonders, and I'm going to talk to you about my 1 year in the industry and my experience and everything that I wish I knew.
Sorry, this was in 2021. Did Validate come out 2020 and then come out later on Steam or something? No, Validate was indeed launched 2022, September 29th. What was her first game? Spirit Swap isn't even out yet, so what was her first game she released?
So to start, let's introduce me. My name is Dani Lalonders. I'm the head developer of Validate, struggling singles in your area. I am also a writer on Spirit Swap. So I'm a non-binary MILF in training.
Yes, she was a writer on Spirit Swap.
And I've been in the industry for 1 year.
A match 3 puzzle game writer. Doesn't that sound like a really embarrassing? Just like a really embarrassing. I'm a great writer. I write for match 3 games. I'm Candy Crush's writer.
That being said, I'm talking from my own experience. Everything that I'm saying is something that happened to me. I'm not
Non-binary MILF in training, by the way. Yes.
not talking generally. I am talking about me. So 1 month in. I launched Validate in February of 2020. It was...
Those games have text that has to be written by someone? Yeah, but if you write the label on the back of a can of beans, you don't put writer on your CV.
A project between me and a bunch of my friends. It was originally a passion project, just like something that we wanted to do and just have a fun little visual novel. We weren't really
Launched Validate in February 2020? No, you launched like a proof of concept of Validate in 2020, right?
wanted to do and just have a fun little visual novel. We weren't really expecting it to blow up the way it did. Now, like when we first started, we had like 2,000 followers in our first month. Like people wanted our game. And like
people wanted her game. Mostly positive, 61 reviews on Steam. It's been out since 29 September 2022.
That is really crazy because a lot of people
maybe they wanted it back then.
Don't really have that success when it comes to their games, especially as like their first game.
There is another piece to the puzzle though. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. Did it launch elsewhere? Yes. Just wait.
I think I just got lucky because I already had a background in community management. And it's just like people knew who I was and people also knew people on the team. And the fact that we had like 22 people originally on the team, it kind of just...
We'll get to this shortly.
Making a game is a lot of work. But honestly, looking back at it, I wish I kind of knew how to do this before I actually went into it, because there is not a lot of guides of how to get started with your games. And the guides that do exist are very white centric.
Excuse me. Did you know? Did you know that there's Unity White and Unity Black Edition?
Making a game is a lot of work. But honestly, looking back at it, I wish I kind of knew how to do this before I actually went into it, because there is not a lot of guides of how to get started with your games. And the guides that do exist are very white centric.
I'm pretty sure the programs work the same regardless of your race. White-centric guide to making a video game.
And I'm going to say that because I am not afraid anymore. It is very much, you need to know someone in the industry.
Oh, of course. Making a game. Having connections in the industry. Here I thought making a game involved technical expertise, artistry. No. Right into the cockroach networking mindset.
You need to be able to talk to people in the industry, and you need to be able to understand how the industry works, who will favor you.
Who will favor you? You need to know how the industry works and who will favor you. This is who Sweet Baby fucking recruits and gets into the industry. She went through Sweet Baby and ended up in EA. In an EA studio, sorry.
Etc. I am clearly not a white person. I am clearly not a white man. I'm a Black non-binary woman. So it was pretty difficult for me because a lot of people did not take me seriously when I first joined the industry, which I think is kind of crazy.
When she says joined the industry, because to me, how do you get started making a game is, what program do you use, right? How do you actually make the game? She's got her eyes on the prize. How do you make money and have industry success? What does she mean by join the industry? Just say, I'm a game dev now. Or when she put something out or made something. What does join the industry mean? Because one of those is, yeah, no shit, no one took you seriously.
Because I'm making a game just like everyone else, so why
I'm making a game. Why wouldn't you take
me seriously?
Ah, yes. Ideas guys on Twitter famously taken seriously. People who have not put out a game yet and talking like they're hot shit. Famously respected on the internet and not shit on.
Like, is it because I'm Black? I mean, it probably is, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of sucks that like.
I'm gonna lose it. Just keep listening for a minute.
It kind of sucks that people saw me and they're just like, whatever, we're not gonna take her seriously. But
who did that?
If a white man made Validate, it would be fucking everywhere.
If a white man made my dating sim, it would be everywhere. Insane. Little spoiler. I've played the demo of Validate way back when. If a white man made Validate, if a white man made this game, he'd be arrested for hate crimes. He would be arrested for a hate crime. If a white man made this, he would go to jail, depending on what country he's in. Also, note that she's complaining about not being supported because she's Black. 1,616 backers pledged $47,000 to help bring this project to life. Yes, the game she made with her team, Veritable Joy Studios, is a visual novel. I don't know where you get the key, but on Steam there are 61 reviews. Perhaps these guys all get their digital copy directly or through itch.io or something, but on Steam there are 61 reviews. Seems sort of strange to me. I won't spoil it too much because I purchased it this morning. If you're interested, Validate is currently on sale, 39% off. Anyway, let's keep listening.
The game would be everywhere. And honestly, I hope that I can put my own game everywhere as a Black woman. I hope that I get that power one day.
I feel like my theory is really strong. I feel like my theory about this cancerous mindset, I feel like it might be quite strong. pretty powerful. I want the power to shove things in people's faces. Not, I want to make something so amazing that everyone wants to be involved with it. I want to shove this shit right down your throat. It's me! I'm cool! Look, I'm in this game. I'm so cool. People like me are cool. Look at me! Instead of course, becoming something that people want to look at.
But anyways, let's think about making our first game. I like this process called the CTFE, which stands for Concept, Team, Funding, and Execution. And I'll explain that in 1 second.
Remember, this only works if you're black. All the other guides only work for white people, we have been informed.
Concept. Every game needs a concept. What is your game about? What is unique about your game? And lastly, what sets your game apart from other games? Those are typically the 3 questions that I ask people when they come to me asking, how do I start my own game?
This reminds me, this is 8-year-olds talking on the Neopets forum level of advice and discourse on games.
There are millions of games out there, like millions. There are so many games out there. Yet, there are still unique concepts that have not been touched on. There's still
Edgy dating sim is not one of them, by the way.
Still unique concepts that have been touched on, but they can be done better. When I started developing games, I started playing games way differently. I started seeing games that I absolutely love. I love these games, but I saw that the littlest things that could be improved to make this game more enjoyable for me.
To be clear, she started working on a visual novel and then suddenly knew how to make every game she played better. She's saying she is the person these people are complaining about, people who have subscribed to this Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Twitter page, curator page are. She is that person. She is the one who spends 2 seconds playing with fucking Renpy and then suddenly knows how to do everyone's job better than them.
Example, a game I recently just played was Paper Mario the Origami King. I love that game. Shout out to Nintendo, the Paper Mario series.
Nintendrones, prepared to get triggered.
God tier, love it. But the battle system made me want to jump off a roof. I hated it. I hated that you had to do little puzzles and stuff like that.
See, I haven't played that Paper Mario. The Paper Mario I did play, the original one, that was like a major part of what made it cool. Isn't that what people like about Paper Mario? Like, isn't that a main feature people love?
But the storytelling, the music, the characters, it was so great.
The storytelling, the music, the characters. Puzzles, gameplay, combat. Oh. Make a movie! Write a fucking book! You like movies! You're literally telling us you do not like video games. Actually, to be fair, she made a visual novel, so you know what? She kind of did. And
as a game developer, the one thing I would change is the battle system to make it more enjoyable. It would literally be the perfect game if it didn't have that battle system. If you want to make a game like The Wolf Among Us, all right, fairy tales, pretty simple. Everyone knows classic fairy tales.
Right. They didn't go, I'm going to make a game, and then go, what kind of game do we make?
But what made The Wolf Among Us kind of different from the classic fairy tales was the fact that it was a game about, murder mystery. It was a murder mystery game. You played as Big Wolf, and he was a detective. He was discovering murders and all these secrets to, their town. That makes it unique. If you want to make a fairy tale game, you can make it cyberpunk.
I feel like Wolf Among Us is a really bad example of doing something original with a game because it's based in the Fables comic world. Sucking it off for uniqueness when it's adapted from a comic. No. What are you talking about? And fairy tale, but cyberpunk, there's something about that. There's something very important about that particular combo. When I was looking into trying to put some stuff up on Amazon, fairy tale cyberpunk is absolutely a flooded category. Insanely shit out. Shadowrun, if we want to be really specific, I'd say Shadowrun is more like cyberpunk mythology. But if you want to think of fairy tales as folk mythology, sure.
Imagine Snow White with cyberpunk gear. She has a visor on and everything. Like, you can do that. That has not been done before. Think about your game, and if you think it's too similar to another game, change it. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can make any game you put your mind to.
The conception of games as being like, I want to make a game. What game should I make? Oh, I'll make a game with Snow White with like a cyberpunk visor. Yeah, but what's the game part? Like, that's you haven't touched game at all. Snow White with a cyberpunk visor could be in a movie, could be in a book, could be in a comic, could be in a song.
Concept is team. Who is your team? A little background about this. I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games.
Sure.
But who is your team? Validate.
It's an absolutely insane size of team for a visual novel, I would say. Certainly.
It has a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team.
That's fine, right? That's fine. If you just look, everyone you hire, it just happens to be.
About this. I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color.
That's fine, right? Just happens naturally. The people you hire, they just all happen to be people of color. It's not like she's deliberately going, if your skin's this color, you're not getting hired. It's not like she's doing that.
We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment.
Oh, a woman, sweet baby, helped to insert into the industry because that's their goal, to get people like this into the industry. They have explicitly stated that. People have said that's great. They don't just pick any marginalized demographic. They don't pick anyone from a marginalized demographic. They do specifically choose people, and they specifically chose her, who thinks white people being around is a danger, to help insert into the industry deeper, and now she works at an EA studio. Do you like that? Is that good?
And I know the best way for an environment to be...
This happened. This is real. This occurred. Is this what you support? Is this what's meant by, helping diversity in the industry? Just making it reflect the outside world? People with this ideology? Is this what you like?
Safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that...
Sorry, let me listen to this again.
Environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me.
That sounds like ethno-nationalism to me, brother.
And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not.
You kinda did, though. The best way to be safe is to have no white people around. I'm not saying white people create unsafe environments. Then how does them not being around make you safe?
Not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people.
I'm not saying white people make me unsafe. I'm just saying I fucking hate them. They ruin my day. Seeing those dang old Mayo monkeys just gets me down. I can't work.
Because they think that something made it okay, but it was really a microaggression. And no one wants to deal with that while they're trying to make a game that they love.
So they do create an unsafe environment that messes you up, that makes you ill. They psychically abuse you if they're around you. Can you imagine having light skin and being in a studio where everyone else has her mindset, has her view? That sounds like an insanely abusive, horrendous workspace. Just saying.
So, who is your team? What does your team represent? Is your team all men? What does that represent about your game? If you're making a game about teenage girls...
Okay. Having an all-men team bad, though.
Girls, why is your team all men? Let's think about that a little. What is the goal for you and your team?
Because they're able to create what you have in mind. If you're the director, maybe if you're the producer, you found the people to facilitate the end goal best, and they happen to all be dudes. Maybe they're weird dudes. Maybe it's a bunch of weird dudes who want to make a game about girls. They can do that.
And what do you want to achieve? How will you guys get to that finish line together? How will you divide up the work? How will you divide up the money? Those are things you have to think about, especially the bigger your team gets, the more you need to think about that a little more intensely. And then how will you and your team work together towards this goal? I think that is really important because when I was creating Validate, I did not have that in my mind. I was just like, all right, we're going to get this game done.
I feel like you must, to some degree you must have, because a gimmick of Validate is that I believe there are no white people in it. It's a team with no white people and it's a game with no white people is the gimmick.
We're going to figure it out. I just never had a plan. We didn't actually start having a plan until probably March of this year. We do things by phases. So our first process is writers and editors. Our second process is art, and then programming, music. It kind of just blends all together with that.
At the end, sure. When was this funded? Sorry, when was this funded? August 11th, 2020, $47,000 raised. This video, December 7th, 2021, saying March of that year is when they had a plan, after raising over 47 grand. That sounds really bad.
So we don't have to wait until the end to program everything in. So that's our process. That's what works for us. But for other games, it might be different. You might have to program the entire game first before you even write a single thing. You might have to do all the art so you can figure out how you are going to program this game. The possibilities are endless.
I don't feel like I'm enlightened at all on the process of creating games. I really don't know what you mean. And doesn't it depend on what you're doing? Order can change. I mean, especially if you're making a visual novel, you could have all the writing done before anything else even. But
my favorite one, funding. Funding is really hard to come by, especially as a marginalized developer, especially as a Black developer, especially as a woman. And the thing is that you have to ask yourself is, games cost money. Mm-hmm. How and where am I going to get this money from?
True hard mode is being given 47 grand on the back of a promise to make a game. That's suffering. Hey guys, if I started a Kickstarter, I would get at least 10 times that amount instantly. I'm sure.
Will you fund your game with Kickstarter, a publisher, grants? And also, what is the long-term goal with the funding you have? That was a question that I really, and I wish I had a time machine so I can go back in time to when we were playing our Kickstarter, because I severely underfunded us. And that technically wasn't my fault.
How wasn't it your fault? How could it not be your fault if you're in charge?
Because I didn't really have the experience. I didn't.
It's not my fault because no one told me what to do.
Have anyone telling me you guys are lowballing yourself. You need to raise your goals so you can get more money for you and your team.
I f***ed up, but it's not my fault because no one stepped in to save me. How can anything ever be anyone's fault if that's the case? People don't f*** themselves over on purpose. Anyone who f*** themselves over like that is making a mistake and didn't have someone to come in and tell them not to do it.
$16,000 for 21 people is not enough money to fully fund the game. That was our base. We end up hitting, I think, about 46,000, and then when Kickstarter funds, it's really $40,000 because they take $6,000. Fun fact: a lot of people don't know that. Which is not saying anything bad about Kickstarter. Shout out to them. We became a project you love in the first 12 hours of our game, and I was like, oh my god. Remember
this. Bear in mind. This is a project that got 47 grand. Knock it down to 40 grand. When we play this game soon, remember, this is a 40 grand project.
But I digress. I really wish that someone told us that $16,000 is not enough. Because now that I'm thinking back about it, we all, like, our entire team got paid, and like the rest of our funds went towards legal fees, and money runs out. Like,
our team got paid?
got paid, and like the rest of our funds
They paid their team and then everything else went towards legal fees?
went towards legal fees, and money runs out. Like, people act like $46,000 is enough to fund a whole game. It's not.
A game isn't just one thing. You can make a game for free. Depends. You can spend, like, if we're going to be really, really, really nitpicky, you can make a game for the cost of a cheap computer. That you need a cheap computer and you can make a game. What kind of game? What scale of game?
It's really not. Games are expensive as hell. Games are so expensive. People keep on lying and saying that, like, oh, you only need $20,000 to fund a game.
Lying. People are lying. For some games, sure. For other games, obviously not.
No, you don't. You need way more. Because that money is going towards not just paying your team, legal fees, engines, copyright, etc.
Money's going towards copyright?
Buying a Unity license is like $1,000 per person. It's a lot of money. And a lot of people just, like...
Oh, it's done in Unity, okay.
Don't really understand. I shouldn't say people, I should say publishers. A lot of publishers don't understand that visual novels cost a lot of money because our big focus is art, and our art budget is like our biggest budget on the team.
It costs a lot of money because it uses art. Publishers don't understand that visual novels are expensive because most of the money goes on art. What do you mean?
And art meaning UI, sprites, CGs, and cards, other art assets, marketing. It's everything. Like,
pretty sure games that aren't visual novels have a bunch of art, typically.
Like, it costs a lot of money to make a visual novel. And I really hope that me making this game and giving this talk shows y'all that this stuff is nothing to play with.
Also, what is the breakdown of this 20-person team? Does she have 20 different artists? Or what is this?
My last thing, execution. What is the plan to create the game? How will your work be divided by your team? And what system will you use to ensure your team is on track and your game will be released? Execution is really important because I didn't learn about execution until I actually started doing it myself. And that is something that you don't learn until you have to do it yourself, because every case is different. For Validate, like I previously said, we did our stuff in phases. That might not work for you. You might have to do all of your work and everyone on your team is working on the same things at the same time.
They did the work in phases, yeah. Does that mean there were chunks of people who you were paying but they weren't doing anything because they were on a phase where their skills weren't relevant? Or what is this? What are you even saying?
For the entire duration of your production. Some people work differently. Like, I know that our writers are going to be wrapping up with writing by like September. So from September to the game release, they're not really doing any work. They're just, because they already did their part of the job. Like, they don't really have to do any more work. So like, you will have people on your team being idle, not really doing any work. You will have people doing a lot of work. You'll have people doing some work.
That doesn't seem right to me. You have a 20-person team that you're paying out of a Kickstarter fundraise, and chunks of them are going to presumably continue to be paid a salary while idle for huge amounts of time. Yeah, having a team that big is that insane. It's like, that big is insane if you're going to be doing it like that. It
depends. But also, people work part-time, people work full-time.
Okay.
It really just depends on your needs as a company. But remember, you have to make sure that whatever plan that you're going with will ensure that your game gets released. When I first entered the industry
Yeah, but Nikandros, is she saying that she's paying these people? Like, they're doing it in phases. Is she hiring these people and paying them a a wage for the huge chunk at the start and after what they've done, and they're only working for a little chunk. That seems insane. What are you saying?
I remember a tweet from one of my mutuals said, "It is a miracle that any game comes out." And they're right. They're literally right. It is literally a miracle that any game comes out, because there are so many things that happen in the production that you're just like, oh my God, not this stuff again. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? This happens to me once a week. Maybe that's just me being a little dramatic and not being able to handle the pressure of everything.
I can understand this happening.
But every week I'm always standing in the middle of my room and I'm just like, is this worth it? And then I go on my Twitter and I'm just like, and I'm reminded that I have all of these people who are supporting me, all of these people who got my back, my team who has my back, and they're always encouraging me to keep going.
What was the budget for Katawa Shoujo?
Because sometimes I really do feel like quitting. And like, I'm just going to be honest. I think that we need to be more honest about how we feel about production, because
more honest. Not
every day is sunshines and lollipops. Some days I'm just like, I don't want to work on this game. I literally don't even want to think about it. Don't talk to me about Validate. Don't even look at me about Validate. Don't even mention Validate. If you say Val, I'm
honestly, if I made this game, that's how I'd feel every day too.
Closing the door. Like, we just need to be more realistic. That is just okay to feel like that. That is literally okay to feel like that. 8 months in. Our Kickstarter was in July to August, in the middle of a global pandemic, which was a lot. And despite all of that, we still got fully funded.
I don't think it's despite. I think COVID 100% would help a game Kickstarter. I guarantee they would have done worse if not for the pandemic.
Almost 300% of our initial goal, which is awesome. I really do appreciate that. And I still cannot believe it happened, that people support our game that much.
Guys, it was so hard. It was such a uniquely hard time to fund things like video games. You know, that time where everyone was stuck indoors with nothing to do but video games and look at things they can buy online?
We had a lot of support. We had a lot of people streaming our game. We had a lot of articles being written about us. We had a lot of people, industry people, like people who've been in the industry for like decades, being like, your game is so cool. I will support it everywhere I can.
They kind of had to, though, didn't they?
And despite all of that, we could not find a publisher who would take our game on. Despite all of that. And it really showed me that you can have this killer concept.
You already crowdfunded it. You crowdfunded it, and you blew out your goal. I imagine publishers are thinking you're not going to sell much more than you already have through kickstarting it, even with marketing. Maybe they looked at how viral you went within relevant audiences and decided it's not a good bet. I mean, I think there being 61 reviews on Steam is probably an indication that they would have been right. But of course, you can never be sure. As Nicandros points out, they would be good for marketing. We don't know how they would have done with a major publisher behind them marketing it, but they did have some viral sway. They did have some viral momentum, so you'd expect that to be
that everyone loves. That everyone loves. Because by November, we were at like 8,000 followers. We were super close to 10K. We had people constantly streaming our game, constantly playing our demo, and like people excited about our game.
Yeah, but Nicandros, they can look at the amount of exposure it gets versus what it's getting out of that exposure. Because it got organic stuff.
Game, and all of that public, like, positive reaction did nothing for these publishers. I showed them our stats of our analytics from Twitter, our Kickstarter, everyone who streamed our game.
10,000 followers? Yeah, that's real small. Yeah, Ben Dillon, yeah. I think she's just deluded. At this point, maybe she knows better now. 10K. They were gaslighting her. Yes! I saw a video of some lady popping off and going, yo, my stuff went viral, I'm famous. And it's like her video has 15k views. People see this number and they're like, 15,000 human beings saw my thing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Nothing. Especially on Twitter, it's nothing. Well, on TikTok, it's nothing. On Twitter, it's barely anything.
All the YouTube videos, etc., and they kept saying no. And honestly, looking back at it, I think that I probably wasn't going with the best approach. Like, I was having conversations with publishers who have published these amazing games. I'm not going to name drop anyone because
Cowards.
I'm not going to do that. Like, it's just, that's not happening right now.
You cowards.
And we got very close to like some of these publishers being like, we'll take your game on, we'll fully fund you. But a few factors have to do with that.
Did you go schizo? Did you say stuff like this to them? Did you say like, can you just like not let a white person from your company contact us? Did you say something insane like that perhaps?
One, I think our budget was a little too intimidating for what these publishers wanted.
Yeah.
We were looking...
Yeah, how much did you ask for on top of your... How much was it? Yeah, on top of your 47,000 you got from Kickstarter. How much?
We were asking for about like $400,000.
Okay. All right, lady. Yeah, it's because you're black. Yeah, it's because you're black, not because you were asking for $400,000 for a visual novel. Okay.
To fully fund our game because...
Not including marketing. I presume. She's saying for salaries. Is that just for salaries or is that...
It would pay for the salaries of all of our team.
And
because
marketing.
We believe in paying people a livable wage. We are still...
She's not mentioning including marketing. Is this 400k for salaries for 20 people? Plus marketing they wanted?
In a pandemic. I don't know why I almost said we left. We're still in a pandemic. A lot of my team lost their jobs because of the pandemic.
So you asked them for welfare. You were seeking welfare, not because they needed it to work on the game. Okay.
A loss of source of income and stuff like that. So I wanted to provide a way for them to like be able to live and also work on our game because we deserve to get paid just like anyone else. Everyone who puts any effort into a game deserves to get paid a lot of money.
Anyone who puts any effort into a game deserves to get paid a lot of money. Why? Where's my money? I'll look forward to my check for the containment breach menu music.
Especially if you're having them crunch. I don't believe in crunch culture personally. I will delay this game as much as I want because I don't care. If I feel like...
I wonder if that attitude affected your success with publishers.
If my team is being pressured to finish, whatever. But like I said, we couldn't find a publisher. It was really hard. I really felt like giving up half the time. In December, like I said, I was emo.
I went to a bunch of publishers. I asked them for at least 400 grand and plus marketing budget, I presume, and told them who gives a fuck when my game's done. I don't know when it's going to be done. I'll push it back as much as I want.
Having a game with a lot of positive traction but no publisher did a lot to my self-esteem. I wanted to quit. Like, I really did want to quit. I had to have a lot of talks with a lot of people to convince me.
You shouldn't have wanted to quit. You should have wanted to fire a lot of people.
That I should not quit because I had something really good going for me. And honestly, I'm glad I did it because it's August and our game is looking really nice. And I'm just really glad that I just held on. And even if you feel like defeated and you feel like no one is paying attention to your game, just keep doing it because there is someone out there who really wants your game. And even if no one does, you're still making a game that you care about.
Sure, that's a good message, but don't rope 20 people into this along with you if you're not going to be able to pull it off in a way that works for them.
You still have to put in that effort. A year in, March of 2021.
Because, of course, you can make any game you want, but it's not an injustice if you then don't make money on it. It's not an injustice if publishers won't pick it up and give you 400 grand. You can do and make whatever you want. You're just not entitled to commercial success for it.
We decided to say, you know what? Screw it. We'll self-publish. And honestly, now that I think about it, it's probably for the best. Because as a game that has had so much traction and means so much to myself and my team, I'd rather all of the money go back to myself and my team and not a publisher taking a big chunk out of it. And the reality of the situation is that publishers do take a lot of money from you. And for a very long time, depending on your contract, it really just depends on like the publisher and what they provide for you. The thing is that we really had to have a talk, and we realized that a publisher really can't do anything for us that we can't do it for ourselves. The main thing that a lot of people look for a publisher is for marketing. Our game markets itself.
I was kind of saying this, but at the same time, I feel like because you had that viral pop without marketing, you get a little glimpse at how it would do with money pumped into it.
If I don't tweet on the Validate account for like 10 days, I can come back and then have the same amount of engagement.
Oh, complacency. Complacency, that's great. That's great in an independent game. You want the leader to be very, very complacent in such a competitive market. Amazing.
Our game markets itself. We don't need marketing.
This is advice, by the way. You're meant to watch this and learn.
What we would need from a publisher is funding, but we have all decided that like we're just gonna, suck it up and just go like finish this first volume without any funding, and then get all of our money when the game comes out.
Oh no! Oh shit! Holy! So they got 47K on Kickstarter. They burnt it. That's 1,616 people who, presumably most of them paid enough to get a copy of the game when it comes out. And then on Steam, Validate has 61 user reviews. Oh god. 80 peak, bonk. Our game, 80 people peak on launch, on release, down to 36, down to 20, down to 12, down to 11. And then it stays between like 2 and 6. 2 and 6 concurrent players after that. Yeah. The game markets itself, by the way.
So we can have money for the future volumes. I really wish that wasn't what it was, because I personally believe that no one should be working without pay. But we couldn't find the pay, so we just kind of have to work. But
she made a studio of only minorities that she then had work without pay. Lady, this isn't diversity and inclusion. This is called slavery. This is old school traditional US slavery. This isn't progress.
Despite all that, it's still pretty fun. I still love working on a game that I'm not getting paid for. Validate is not paying my bills. And I like to remind people that Validate, the game that most producers are making, is
true. It is on itch.io. So they had like 1,600 people back it. I presume most of them paid enough to get a copy. And then I'm sure on top of those 1,600 people, probably 100,000 bought it on itch.io, right? 100,000? Sure. And then 100,000 more on Switch, I'm sure.
Not
It's just on Steam, only 80 people concurrent max.
paying their bills, especially in indie. Like head producers typically don't get paid because their team is typically the priority before themselves. And there's something wrong with that. There is something wrong with that, because I deserve to get paid for the work that I do. But it's just like, that's just the reality. Games are really hard. Games are really hard. They're very soul crushing. But once your game comes out, I know that feeling is going to be so awesome. I cannot wait for Validate to come out. I really cannot wait. I literally sit and dream about it, because when Validate is over, I get to relax.
I have to tell you, she has really strong mental, If after all this, her game came out, and granted only on Steam, it's on other platforms, and on Steam it peaked at 80 people. I'll give her that she is still alive today after that means she has pretty strong mental.
And honestly, I cannot wait to take the 1 month vacation when I'm fully done with Validate, because I get to free myself because I work all the time. Like I said, Validate is in production and is set to release in the summer of 2022. I'm glad. And honestly, it's looking like we're going to reach that date by how smoothly everything is going. Things are getting done. It's
not
looking
horrible.
Pretty sexy. And honestly, I can't wait to change the industry with this game because I know it's going to rock some socks off. I can't wait to see the games that follow after Validate. I want to see games with more diverse characters.
Is she going to take credit for there being... Every brown person in a video game is because of Validate, by the way. Did you know it's because of Validate? Oh, change the industry? Yeah, you're going to love this.
I want to see games with more diverse storylines. I want to see games from more diverse teams. I am tired of people being afraid to enter the industry because they're intimidated. Don't be afraid of no one. No one can stop you from making any game you want. I am living proof of that. And honestly, if you need assistance...
Who tried to stop you? No one tried to stop you. You just tried to stop white people from getting hired.
Let me know. My DMs are always open. And that's been my talk.
Which is fine. I think you have a right to run a racist business if you want to.
My name is Dani Lalonders, and thank you for listening to my talk.
Right. We have a big treat. Validate was on sale, so I figured there's really no excuse not to support a strong black woman. I purchased Validate. The money you send me went into purchasing Validate. I bought it for £6.94. We have a little bonus meme. Reviews. There is one review quoted. Validate not only successfully delivers on living up to the dev team's goals to enrich the gaming space with racially diverse stories, it has me excited for more games to follow its example. Funnily enough, I think this is... I believe the gimmick is there is no white person in the game, which means I think it's less diverse than most other games that have humans. That quote is from Isaiah D. Colbert of Kotaku. He's got a nice banner on Twitter. It says, "White Terror Defeated." Very cool. And we're going to play that game now. You excited to experience Validate? Until one of your baby mamas, probably Tara, finds out you're talking to another woman and tries to sabotage you because she's an evil woman who only wants to see a black man lose. Or maybe if you had gotten a Ghanaian woman pregnant, your mother wouldn't see you as such a disappointment. Your siblings wouldn't make fun of you every chance they get. You've dealt with enough favoritism growing up, or with how much lighter your skin is compared to your siblings, being the only one to get the light-skinned gene from your great-grandfather on your mom's side. Suddenly, race science. You reach into your bag, offering her a tape, one of your nicer ones, a sleek case with your name and number. Even a heart near the end of it. This one is always saved for the ladies. The look she gives you is typical. You're the only one in the city actively handing out mixtapes, and the majority of people don't even have working CD players in their cars anymore. You've always considered switching to primarily digital media, but the concept of being unique is what appealed to you. You always stood out no matter what you did, and until you find another way to be unique, you'll keep this going. Great, no one can play it. Got a name? Yolanda. You sure giving out CDs is the best form of advertising? You know, most people don't even have a CD player anymore. What about BoundCloud? I've been thinking about it. Something about keeping it physical makes it more authentic, you know? What... What if the white man decides to close the internet and everything we kept on it is gone? You can't go around blaming the white man for everything. We need to smack this hoe. She needs to be disciplined. Are you one of those white people aren't that bad types? Yo, let's go. You watch as she ponders the question. You're almost tempted to walk away from this entirely, but then you remember she offered to let you perform and is probably one of the people in charge here. With the way people talk in this city, you'd rather not have your reputation ruined over this. Haha, what? No, I mean, not really. Bro. A lot of them come here and are pretty cool, but I'm always wary, you know? Bear in mind, this section is written by the woman who said we specifically didn't hire whites because she said She wanted to keep it safe, and then she goes, I'm not saying they make things unsafe, but they just want it to be safe. You know, microaggressions. Always wary, you know. She's one of those. Fine, you can't get mad that she doesn't follow your philosophy. Not many people have the IQ to understand it.